Hey there, Smoke Master D coming at you again with another episode of Barbecue Buyer's Guide to Offset Smokers, and this time rotisserie offsets. And I've got a few chapter times here for you. Now, please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel, and I'll have some great content coming up for you soon. All right, and here we have a map of the United States, including the offset rotisserie companies. Now, if you look all the way out there to the west, we've got Tucson, Arizona with Arizona BBQ Outfitters. Up there in Olathe, Kansas is American Barbecue Systems. In the south, there we have DeWitt, Arkansas and Menard Cookers and Rotisserie Smokers. Then Sikeston, Missouri, Semo Smokers and Heartland Cookers, as well as American Grill Company. Now, one important thing to note is that American Grill Company is the parent company of Heartland Cookers, so they are basically the same. Heartland Cookers used to be its own entity, but then it was sold to American Grill Company. All the same people stayed. I believe it was, in the family, so to speak. So they still make the same cookers the way that they did. Now they're just incorporated into American Grill Company. And I just wanted to show you how close these companies are. Basically, almost catty corner down the street, Semo Smokers and Heartland Cookers there. Now, why do I have a picture of a salt shaker? Some of the numbers and figures in this episode you're going to have to take with a grain of salt. A lot of the websites didn't have complete information. I tried my best to get it for you, but when I was talking to people over the phone, I got a lot of ballpark figures, especially with pounds. So, and these smokers are a little bit more difficult to figure anyways, just because there's 3 dimensions to think about rather than just 2 dimensions. More so than most of the other smokers that I've ever done episodes on. So please do keep that in mind when you're looking at the rest of this episode. All right, and several smokers that I want to go through really quickly that I'm not covering, but are offset smokers with rotisseries. This Titan 48-inch charcoal spit rotisserie boar and hunting grill, you'll notice that it has like a charcoal firebox kind of in the bottom left of this picture, and it has those holes where it vents up and kind of cooks to the side. Technically offset, right? That's from Titan Great Outdoors for $40.97. Cook Shack. This one doesn't have the charcoal. It's only a pellet smoker. I decided only to cover mainly charcoal offset rotisseries in this episode. Who knows, maybe someday I'll do offset smokers with a primary pellet function for cooking, but not this time. Also, we have Moss Grills, and this is basically just an offset smoker with a rotisserie that comes in it that you can put in it. And you can take the rotisserie out and put the shelves in, the grates to cook. There's a bottom one and a top one, and $700 is a fairly good price there. If that's what you want to do, you can do it that way. Another one that I decided not to do, this one does use, charcoal or wood, but it doesn't have the same configuration as all the other offset smokers in this episode. So I decided to make this one only over and under offset rotisserie smokers. And this has a firebox, offset firebox in the back, which is a little bit more traditional to offset smokers, but different enough that I didn't really want to get into the differences of that. But you can see it. It's from Custom Pits in Watkinsville, Georgia, I believe. It looks like a nice smoker, and it's only a trailer version. And as you know, if you've been watching this show for any period of time, I try my best to only cover freestanding units. I feel like it's just a little bit simpler that way. All right, and then smokers that come from these companies themselves. Now, I think most of these companies make larger sizes than all the ones that I'm going to be showing you. And they make ones that are on trailers. But American Grill Company and Semo both are more known for their insulated rotisserie units that I'm not going to get into those. Just backyard, mostly no insulation units is what we're covering today. And lastly, Mule Tough Barbecue, also in Sikeston. So, you know, a third offset rotisserie company in Sikeston. They only have 2 sizes they make. I guess, you know, this is a barbecue competition team. They make these 2. Despite this one picture, I couldn't find any other ones that had the freestanding unit. Almost all just trailers. If you are looking to buy a unit and you want a 5-foot offset rotisserie smoker, maybe look and check out what they've got, you know? Now, the basics of an offset rotisserie smoker. You're going to notice that it has the firebox there on the side, and then the heat's going to travel to the main chamber. Under the firebox, generally speaking, is going to be an ash removal system, hopefully. The heat, though, goes straight to the main chamber, where there's going to be a rotisserie Ferris wheel style going around, and that is going to be mixing up the air, that circulation. It's also going to have the food cook more evenly. See the electric motor there on the bottom, and it can be situated in a few different places. There's usually a chain drive moving the axis there, and then you have the smokestack on the top. All right, and just to think about these offset rotisseries, decided to list a few pros and cons, just in case you're thinking about going this way or not going this way, if you're looking to buy an offset rotisserie smoker. And there we have the first one, even cooking. It stirs the air as it rotates, so that's going to even out the heat in the cooking chamber itself, as well as the whole rotisserie action is to get closer to it and get further from it, sort of evening out that high heat. So really even cooking there. Now, there is an extra cost to a motor and a chain and etc., right? So that's not so great. Now, also another pro, there's a better meat capacity in general in the same space of a chamber, especially when you double up some of these racks, and we're going to take a look at that as we go on. One of the cons is that electricity is required. If you take this thing out to the wilderness, which I guess would be easier if it was on a trailer and you didn't have electricity, it would be, I don't know whether I want to say useless, but it would not function the way that it's supposed to. All right, so a pro, you can usually get a pellet or gas assist. It's going to make it even easier to make this thing work. One note about gas is that if you're only using gas and not using wood or wood product combustion, it's not barbecue. I have a video on the definition of what authentic barbecue is, and it's probably the link right up there at the top if you want to click and see that. But that is available. That can be helpful to make things just super easy. On the con side, mechanical things eventually fail. So it may not be for quite some time, but eventually something's going to happen. The chain's going to have an issue, whatever it is. All right, pros again, the ash removal system, very nice. Most of them have that. There's one exception that I'll point out to you. Cons, there's extra upkeep for the mechanical parts. You have to mostly just lubricant. I'm not entirely sure how you would want to clean the engine too from dust or buildup like that. But that is one thing to think of. All right, another pro, and this is for almost all rotisseries, I think, is that there's this self-basting action. Now, if it's on a spit, that may work a little bit better. In this case, it's probably going to happen in the form of drippings falling from one shelf to the next as the rotisserie action is going. But it's a good thing. Cons, and this is just something I've been thinking about, is the convection different in this rotisserie than it would be in a traditional offset smoker where the air is going across the meat? And I don't know if that is a con. I don't know. It's something that's been in my mind. And if you know, certainly please add to the comments. Is that better or worse or what? But it was an idea in my mind, and so I put it in there. All right, and we're starting out with the OG Heartland cookers. From what I understand, they were the first to popularize this style. I know that American Barbecue Systems started at the same time in 2006, but I'm not certain that they started with a rotisserie. Maybe they did, maybe I'm wrong. Now, one of the strange things is that American Grill Company has on their website the 24 by 36, which they list for $18.99, and it is not on the Heartland Cookers website. Although, from talking to the people there at Heartland Cookers, it is made by the Heartland Cookers side of the company. Keep that in mind. They also have this 32 by 36 as well as a 36 by 48. I'm going to give you a little bit better pictures of those in the next slide. You can see that there's an optional pellet upgrade. There's a large picture of the 8-rack system. Now, they don't have the 8 additional racks in there, but you can see how they've built in the places to hold those extra racks and put them in to double up the racks. And since we're talking about this, one thing that I did want to mention, and I may mention it again, is when you put in these extra racks, the clearance is going to change. So how much you're able to put in is going to be affected when you use the extra racks, especially vertically. Now, one thing to know is that this $18.99 is a base price. It does not include the prep shelf, which is an extra $50, $100 for stainless. It does not include the log rack underneath, which is an extra $75. The 8-rack system is $125 upgrade, and that is going to double your space. But again, like I said before, the vertical space will change with that, so you have to keep that in mind. Several other options: spice holder, utensil holder, towel rack, powder coating. You got a call for that, as well as the custom banner, which is pretty popular with the pictures I saw on Facebook. So if you want to look at those. Now, the 32 by 36, for this price, which is over on the Heartland Cookers website, they did include the 8-rack system, which is nice. The prep shelf is also included. Now, if you want to do direct grilling, and this is also with the 24 by 36, they will sell you an extra grate to go right there in the firebox. But with that 24-36, he estimated it to be an extra 50, an extra 150 down there on the 36 by 48. Now, it's one of those things. If you want to throw it on there, grill a few steaks or burgers while you're making your barbecue, that can be a great option. And I mostly asked about it just because of one of the smokers we're going to see later on, in which it comes standard. Now, for the 32-36, stainless prep is $75. You get to see the auto gas kit, which on the lower side I have the prices: $1,200 for the standard. They have a deluxe version, which I believe has countdown timers and presets. This competition switch, and I should say the deluxe I think was $1,500, but the competition switch, which is $150, makes it so basically you can use the parts of this gas kit that are not the gas, and it basically turns it into a guru, right? It'll modulate the air inflow for the temperature. So that could be super nice if you wanted to have gas and that option for competing or just regularly. Then we have the 36 by 48 at $4,450. These things get pricey, especially the larger they get, but they can feed a lot of people. So the warmer box there is $650 with 2 shelves. I do believe you can get a warmer box for these other 2, and it's going to be cheaper, but you'll have to look into that. The 8-rack system's $250 on this larger unit. Stainless prep is $150. There are more upgrade options, but these are the ones that I wanted to present to you today. Now the pros and the cons. Heartland Cookers and American Grill Company, they have perhaps the most experience with this kind of unit, and experience matters. Now, the smaller units are more affordable, but they're a la carte, and there's additional costs, just like you saw with the 24-inch model it, basically nothing. Even this picture here, there's no log rack on the bottom. That can be good or it can be bad. It can be good if you just don't have a whole lot of money. It can be bad if it feels like, you're being nickeled and dimed into extra costs. Now, I also think that the option for the gas assist and the competition switch is really good. All right, now Semo Smokers. They have a 30 by 30 and a 30 by 48. There weren't any pictures for the 30 by 48, so I couldn't. I put this, which looks a little bit more like a 30 by 60. Put that picture on the left, which of course is another option. Now, I think there's an ash catching pan there. There is that section you see at the very bottom of the screen. Please describe the smoker you would like. So they didn't have any upgrade options listed like Heartland Smokers. I guess it's more like you tell them what you want and they tell you how much it is, which is fine, except for shows like this, when we're trying to compare. So, and I suppose I could have asked them for all those figures, but I didn't. So we're just going to go with what we have. All right, so pros and cons. And it looks like there's a lot of cons on this one, but they're not really as bad as you might think, and we'll see that. One of the good things about this unit is the 1/4-inch fireboxes, even in the smaller units, is going to give you better heat retention just throughout, actually. So that's really good, and we're going to get in the graphing section, the charts, the thickness in all these units, so you'll be able to see the comparisons there. On the cons, it's an obvious copy of the Heartland cookers. Being across the street just makes it even more obvious. And, maybe that's bad, maybe it's not. You decide. The second level trays, I had to ask about them specifically. Apparently, they're not integrated the same way as the Heartland cookers are. They're kind of stack on. And if you request them, they will do that for you. Which isn't to say that they couldn't try to copy that Heartland Cookers feature, especially if you asked. But from what I got talking to them, they do stack-ons. So also, they don't really do direct grilling grates. I asked about that as well. They thought I might be talking about a grate for firewood. So I just guess that that's not something they've done or do. Lastly, their business is more geared towards their commercial insulated units. Even them not having a picture of the 48-inch model, it speaks to the fact that maybe they haven't made one, or maybe they did, or maybe they just haven't made enough that they're around that they could snap a picture and put it up here. It just seems that they're more geared towards the other side of their business. Okay. The same cannot be said about American barbecue systems. Now we have two different ones, and on the left side of the screen, it's going to be the pit boss, and on the right side, it's going to be the judge. Now the judge I'm showing here is the 4-foot version. There's also a 5-foot version. Now, when we look at it, there's some interesting features around the firebox here at the bottom left. The dampers are going to be here on the side. Now, I didn't mention it before, but the other two smoker companies that we've talked about, I believe the dampers are on the bottom and that there's an ash catching system integrated into it. But on these, the dampers are on the side. The ash removal is on the bottom. That handle there is a rake that you can actually rake across the bottom there so that you can catch them and remove them. So that rake is pretty cool. Also pretty cool is this baffle to the main chamber. So if you're worried about, too much direct heat with the firebox being right there against the main chamber, and it seems that they might have a larger hole there for the heat than some of these other offset rotisseries. They actually have created a baffle in there so you can change the amount of space there is for that heat to go through the window to the main chamber. You can also, try to block some of the radiant heat from the fire, which travels in rays, just like sun rays, right? And try to make it so it's a bit more of the convection cooking. This is the one that they have integrated into their firebox, the grill grates for cooking by grill, direct cooking in the back. Throw a steak on there, throw burgers on there. You know, you could even use this when you're not doing barbecue and just use it for burgers. Use it as a grill that way. You'll also see the minion chamber divider there. So if you want to do the minion style of having your charcoal light on one side and snake around, which will keep it lit much longer, give you much longer run time on the charcoal that you put in there. That is another great addition to this firebox. Now we look over here with the Judge. You'll notice that they have some pellet hoppers there on the bottom. That's not standard. You can get that as an add-on. It was just a good picture, so I put it there. Now, some of the accessories, the custom fit cover, stainless rotisserie racks. That is something to note here. Everything is stainless. Some of this higher price is all of that stainless steel with the rotisserie racks as well, and the shelving. And I'm not entirely sure what that butterfly stack extension, but you can get the Guru. They have a thermostat control, propane gas system. So if you're into all those extra upgrades, definitely call them and talk to them, and they will hook you up. Now the pros and the cons. The pros, that direct grilling, fully integrated, really cool. The minion method integration, awesome. Adjustable baffle, awesome. The package comes with a lot of these features, so you don't have to, stress out about, should I get it, should I not get it? Just comes standard, so that's great. One of the cons, a little bit thinner gauge metal, 11 gauge here. Less powerful engine with the 1/30th horsepower. It may have been just the smaller unit. I can't remember. Now, the one thing to say about this is that the 1/4 horsepower engine that the rest of these people use is probably overkill. I haven't heard any complaints about the engine that they use not being able to turn the rotisserie. So even though it's kind of a con, it really isn't. And now we have Arizona BBQ Outfitters. Now, one thing you're going to notice about this picture is that I cut it out from a trailer unit. There were not any good pictures of the freestanding, even though that is on their website and that's the price there. I believe the trailer is somewhere around $1,300, but the freestanding is $8,375 as I list there. That was just unfortunate. There was nothing I could do about it. I mean, I guess I could have asked them for a picture if they had it, but when you have a unit this large, it's not surprising that they don't sell too many of the freestanding ones. And they had a smaller one. They had a 6 shelf. This is a 12 shelf here. They had a 6 shelf. There were problems with it. They discontinued it. Yeah, so, and this is what they have today. And there's some really cool things about it. Now, the Firebox doors are very different from the other models. There's 2, one on either side. So there's no vertical kind of putting wood in there. It's all from the sides. Also, you look at the exhaust systems. The exhausts, I believe, begin at the bottom, the smokestacks, right? And go up the side like that, and you have really easy access to those exhaust dampers. And the dampers that are on the back are these interesting turn wheel style. They are spring loaded, so you have to kind of pull them out, turn them, and the spring will push them back in, and they will stay where you want them. Another thing to notice, especially with that Firebox door, is that they bolt on an extra layer of 3/16 steel in that diamond relief pattern that you see there. So that helps with the heat retention as well. A last thing to mention is that the top of the Firebox is insulated. There's an option for extra insulation on the top of the main chamber, but it is extra. Pros and cons. Like I just said, insulation in the top of the Firebox. Cons, no direct grilling. And, since they put that insulation there, you really can't do it. Can't do it at all. It has thicker metal than the ABS, and we'll get into that in the charts. No option for smaller units from this maker. They have one size, that's it. Integration of the stacks and exhaust dampers in the sides. I think that's a good thing. Maybe it's not. I think though. I didn't see any sort of ash removal system. Maybe I'm wrong about that. If you have one of these, or if you know, put it in the comments. But I didn't see anything. I think you just have to open those doors and clean it out yourself the old-fashioned way. They redesigned this thing for improvement. One thing that I hadn't mentioned with this model, as well as the American barbecue systems, is that they took what Heartland and Semo do as more of a cylinder, right, a barrel design, and they've made it more of a box. So the rectangular kind of thing, especially with the middle section being more box shaped, in order to accommodate these larger shelves and just make it work a little bit better. So very different kind of shape there in the system. Lastly, we have Menard cookers and rotisserie smokers. They didn't reply to my email, so this is as far as it goes with Menard, except that they don't look that great. They don't have wheels. If you look at the bottom right here with this door for the firebox, it looks slanted. Maybe those are the hinges not being on right. Maybe it's just the design. I don't know. I couldn't find anybody that had these smokers. They have a website. They sell a lot of other things on their website besides rotisserie smokers. I am not super impressed. They never got back to me, so sayonara, Menard. And now it's time for charting with grills. All right, and so here we've got base prices. I had that grain of salt slide at the beginning of this. Hopefully these prices are correct. Prices have been very volatile lately with steel and raw materials prices going up and down. So hopefully these are correct. If not, I'm sorry. Now we've got the lowest, the American Grill Company, going up to Semo, Heartland, L3236 there, the ABS Pit Boss, Semo 30x48, Heartland 36x48, the Judge 4-foot, and then the Arizona BBQ Outfitters, which is the largest unit. I won't be doing a slide with shipping prices. I usually do them to me just for comparison, but just remember the map and try to figure out how close or far away you are that way. All right, so approximate volume of the main chamber in gallons. Now, one thing I want to say about this and how I calculated these numbers is that for American Grill Company and Heartland Cookers and Semo, I calculated the volume of a cylinder. And for the American barbecue systems and the Arizona BBQ Outfitters, I did a square or rectangle. And now, as you can see, looking at these things, the ABS has a rounded top and sort of a flat bottom. And the Arizona BBQ Outfitters has the more octagonal shape, which kind of cuts off the tops. So these numbers are inherently going to be a little bit off, but hopefully they're, close enough. I think the ABS and Arizona are going to be a little bit more off than Semo and Heartland. But yeah, the volume is important to understand for these things, especially when you're dealing with those extra shelves and vertical space. Okay, now dollar per approximate gallon. Remember that the AZ BBQ Outfitters isn't exactly correct in the gallon number, but 1401 as opposed to 1960 for the Judge 4-foot, $20 for the ABS Pit Boss, 22 for Heartland Cookers there. The bigger ones are going to have a little bit better dollar for the volume, smaller ones a little bit less, all the way up to the Semo ones up there, which look to be the worst in the gallon. Now, You should remember, of course, that they have thicker fireboxes, so that probably plays into the price differences there a little bit. All right, inches squared, including additional racks. Okay, so you're gonna see the ABS Pit Boss down there does not have the additional racks. It's gonna be the lowest on this, and I'm gonna show another slide that'll hopefully give a little bit more perspective on that. The American Grill Company, their next Semo, Heartland 3236, Semo 30x48, Heartland 3648, The Judge, and Arizona BBQ Outfitters. So really the only one that seems kind of out of place is that ABS Pit Boss. Let's go to the next slide. So I took the inches squared and I transferred it into feet squared just so that it's a little bit more on the same chart here in number wise. And what I want you to see is that volume compared to the feet squared. So, that being said, this American barbecue systems, you're going to be able to get a lot more vertical meat into it, thicker pieces of meat with that smaller square inches than a lot of these other ones, including the American Grill Company and Semo and Heartland Cookers. They're with the larger numbers for the inches. All right, now we have the metal thickness in gauges. One thing, of course, to remember is that the lower the number of the gauge, the thicker it is. So those threes there, those are the numbers we do want to see. So that American Barbecue Systems, it has the thinnest metal overall for the cooking chamber and the firebox. Several other offset rotisseries in our little list here have the 11 gauge for the main chamber, but have thicker metal for the firebox. American Grill Company and Heartland having 7 gauge there. Now they bump it all the way down to 3 gauge, which is a 1/4 inch for the 36x48. So when they're making these larger ones, Heartland, they are making them with thicker metal. The Arizona BBQ Outfitters has the thickest metal overall with the 7 gauge, which is 3/16 inch thick main chamber, and the 3 gauge firebox, which is even better because of the insulation that they have at the top of that thing. So that Arizona BBQ Outfitters is going to do the best in heat retention and heat distribution throughout. All right, unit weight in pounds. Now, these numbers are the ones that were very much estimated by employees, just what they kind of thought while I was talking on the phone to them. Unsurprisingly, the 24x36 is at the bottom. Semo has both of theirs, which is a little bit surprising to me and possibly be incorrect because I know that they're using that 1/4 inch steel for the fireboxes. And we have the ABS Pit Boss, 2 of the Heartland cookers there, the Judge, and Arizona BBQ Outfitters. And the dollars per approximate pound. Again, take that pinch of salt and, throw it over your shoulder or whatever, because these numbers are based on the ones we had in the last slide. But we're going to take a look at them. The 32x36 there seems to be the best dollar per pound. Maybe the estimate for its weight is just off. The Judge after that, actually the same number for the Judge. American Grill Company 533, larger Heartland there 553. The Arizona BBQ Outfitters 558 per pound. Pit Boss then 585, and Semo in a far last was 738 and 818 for theirs respectively. And that's basically it. A few thoughts from me. I don't think any of these smokers are bad. I think that they're all pretty much good. They're going to make some really amazing barbecue for you. If you're looking for a smaller unit, Semo or Heartland seems to be where it's at. I like that Heartland's been doing it for as long as they have and that they're as focused as they are. So if I were going to get a smaller unit, I would probably go with them. Now, I really like American Barbecue Systems. I like the way that they've integrated some of their stuff into the firebox the way that they have. I like the shape and how much space is there. I think that Arizona BBQ Outfitters is playing from the same playbook in the space regards. And if I were between, Arizona and Kansas, I'd have a hard time choosing which way to go with them, between them, if I did have to decide. American Barbecue Systems has several more sizes to choose from, which may help some people decide to go with them as opposed to the just one size from Arizona. But those are just my thoughts. Like I said, I don't think you could go wrong with any of these. Menard is the only one that I really had some reservations about, and we don't have to think about them. So, and as always, if you have one of these offset rotisserie smokers, please put your review in the comments. Let us know what you think about them. Let other people know so that we can all make the best decisions when we're buying these smokers. I hope you all get out there and make some really amazing barbecue. Get your smoke on, y'all.